So you're...
Hey, Christina, what would you like to talk about?
Well, so I grew up, like, I'm 22, so I grew up with my parents listening to, like, 80s music and then, like, old rock, so I kind of grew up listening to you, even though, you know, it had been a while since you had been out with the Greg Kihn band and all that stuff, so I'm actually pretty honored to talk to you. But,
Well, I'm flattered, and, you know, those were magical days, and I really loved going out and playing around this country, and it was great that we had our first initial brush with success there in the early 80s. You know, but this band is like a heritage band, man. We just go on and on and on, and I don't know, I kind of lost count, but I think we're around 20 albums out.
See, and that's crazy. That is absolutely insane. And what do you think has kept you guys making music this entire time?
Well, the thing is, this is my first album, studio album, in 20 years.
Yeah.
And people say, well, where were you, Greg? Where were you? I was on the radio. I was doing the morning show on KFOX Radio in San Francisco, and I did that for 18 years straight, where I was getting up at 4 in the morning and doing the morning show. And you know what it's like when you're doing that kind of radio. You don't have a life. So basically, I didn't do any touring, just played maybe a handful of dates every year. And, you know, I did a lot of writing during that period, novel writing. But, you know, the thing was, I just missed playing. I missed going on the road. I missed playing live in front of audiences. And as soon as me and the radio station parted ways, which was about 3 years ago, suddenly I had all this time on my hands. And the first thing I did was start rehearsing the band, putting the band together, and hitting the road. And it's been great. We've had a great summer. Got a bunch of gigs coming up. We've already played a bunch. By the way, if you want to see where the Greg Kihn Band is playing, you can always go to our website, gregkihn.com. There's a live, touring schedule on there, so you can always check that. And we update it every once in a while so that you're pretty up to date on that. And I think it's so cool that I was, after all these years, go back in the studio again. And now it's even better because the band were really, I mean, my son is the lead guitar player. I guess you can't get closer than your son. And he's a great guitar player. He was a former student of Joe Satriani, and he graduated from Cal Arts as a jazz guitar major, and that kid can really play. So he's on lead guitar. And we've got the drummer from Sammy Hagar Group, a guy by the name of Dave Lauser, on the drums, and he's outrageous. The guy's like Keith Moon. He's real busy, real exciting. And then we got Robert Berry, the new bass player. Robert also produces the Greg Kihn Band. He produced the rekindled new album, and he owns the studio where we rehearse and record. So it's a real tight-knit little group, and, all I can say is this is the most fun I've had in years.
See, that's awesome. See, that's so great. And then, you mentioned that your son is playing lead guitar for you guys. So what's it like bringing him, into your world and kind of introducing him into your world and having him in your band?
Yeah, well, let's thank God it's not my world back in '83 when I was Mr. Partying, okay? The world now is it's mostly all music, and we're writing songs together. It's just very comfortable. My son is a great guitar player, as I said, and he's a former student of Joe, and he just can play every style. So me and Robert come up with the bulk of the song ideas, and then Rye comes in and just blows us out with these great guitar solos. And it's like a match made in heaven. And, Rye grew up with the Greg Kihn Band. I mean, you know, he grew up backstage watching us. He knows every song. He's seen probably a million gigs over the years, and when he stepped into the role of the lead guitar player, it was like he was already born to play it. And awesome. I really love the fact that my son is working with me. That's really something special.
I can't even imagine. That is awesome. And so you have, you know, like you said, you guys have made like 20 albums, and you're still continuing to create music. So what do you think has kind of kept you in the game versus a lot of the 80s one-hit wonder artists? You guys have continued to make music and continued to...
I didn't want to be a one-hit wonder. I mean, technically I'm a 2.5 hit wonder, which is better than a one-hit wonder. But, you know, over the years, because our salad days, I guess, were the mid-'80s when Jeopardy was out, the breakup song was out. But I tell you, I could tell when I was writing a song whether it was going to be a good one or not by how quickly I wrote it. If I really sweated it out, it was never as good as the songs that just kind of write themselves. And while we worked on this Rekindled, the new CD, I remember the first day we went in the studio, Rye came in, he was playing this guitar riff that was going to become Big Pink Flamingos, and he started playing it, and right out of the clear blue sky, I started singing Big Pink Flamingos. And the whole song came to me in one flash. I wrote it in about 20 minutes. And Rye, you know, he was right there on the spot. We recorded it later that day. So it couldn't be any fresher. But that set the course for the whole album. You know, there were no songs I really had to sweat over. All the songs seemed to come out real easy. They were a pleasure to work on, you know, because, you know, we have a little bit of a sense of humor with this album with Big Pink Flamingos and some of the other songs. So, you know, it just feels right. It feels good. And, you know, as I said before, to be doing this again is really a privilege. I mean, really, I could be one of these guys that, you know, just goes and fades from the scene. But really, I feel like I'm just getting started now.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. And as you mentioned, you write and record music really quickly. Like, you have one idea and then you get to the studio and you kind of told us that you were just record immediately. What's the most non-traditional way you have ever written a song?
Well, you know, obviously because we're a heritage band and we go back decades. So we've been in every format. I remember when we did our first album, it was on 8-track. Remember 8-track?
Yes.
And then there was cassettes, and of course vinyl. All 4 of our 20 albums all came out in vinyl, and it wasn't until later, you know, after my stint on the radio, and then going back into the studio. While I was gone, had been a revolution in how you record albums. And now the new one is all recorded digitally on computers, using Pro Tools, you know, which is like, to me, I'm an old school guy. I can barely tune my guitar. So if it wasn't for guys like Robert trying to figure this stuff out, I don't know if we could do it. But, you know, it was so much fun. And what happened was, it took away, it allowed us to just kind of freeform it. You know, if something sucked or it didn't work, big deal. We just didn't do it. We just went to the next idea. And by keeping it light like that, we just had one great idea after another. And just as a footnote here, just between me and you, I've already got 3 songs recorded for the next album.
Really?
We were so jazzed at the end of the album, we just kept going. So, as a matter of fact, I just had a recording studio a session yesterday, and we're 3 songs into the next album, if you can believe that.
Wow. So when do you think that you're going to be, you know, because you kind of just came out with Rekindled, when do you think that you're going to be kind of compiling everything that you're recording together and actually releasing another album?
Oh, as soon as possible.
Really?
Probably early next year, I would say. We're going to be touring around and playing a lot of dates this summer, and we're kind of just going into the studio whenever we feel like it, whenever we got a new song idea, which has been a lot lately. I guess the answer to that question is one thing leads to another. You know, when you're a rock and roll musician, you got to kind of take life on the fly. You know what I mean? Oh my God, I'm going to Cincinnati this weekend. What am I going to wear? You know what I mean? So I just love the fact that we're busy and we're working out there. And like I said before, now that I've got such a close band with Ryan and Robert, it's really been a pleasure. And making these albums is a labor of love. I really, you know, I should say something about the creative process right here, because, you know, my life revolves around that creative bubble. And I can't imagine what it would be like to wake up in the morning and not have something to work on, something creative. Like I'll wake up in the morning, I'll go to the computer. I might work on a song. I might work on my next novel, which is going to be coming out next year.
Really?
I might write a blog. I might write a short story or a screenplay. As long as it's something new and I can chew on it, then I'm happy. I mean, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I'm not happy unless I'm doing something creative.
Well, and you're kind of you've done so much over your career. It's kind of crazy. You've done so many different, I would say, artistic things, you know, being a DJ, and then you've written novels. You're writing another one now. You do blogging. You do all kinds of stuff. You make music. And I mean, I feel like a lot of people tend to mention Jeopardy when it comes to your career, but what do you think that your best piece of work has been thus far?
Oh, that's a toughie, because, yes, you would say Jeopardy. Obviously, I love Jeopardy, and it was great that it was a hit twice, because Weird Al came along 6 months later and did his version, I Lost on Jeopardy, which I thought was a brilliant idea. And he did the video for that, and I got to make a cameo appearance in the video. And I'd have to say that was a major turning point in my life, because MTV discovered the band, and we were one of the first bands to actually perform a concept video and not just a live video. Back in the day, when they first started, it was mostly live, you know, or fake, you know, kind of guys sitting around singing. But never had anybody been trying to do a concept video. It actually had a story, and it was like a mini movie. And when we did Jeopardy, it was great because I did it. It was a Night of the Living Dead spoof, and it was so much fun to do. I look back at that as that was a turning point. But I think, you know, if you really wanted to boil it down to one song, I think the new album really speaks for me. And a lot of people have said this, and I was very aware of this. It sounds like Greg Kihn, but it sounds like Greg Kihn now. You know, it doesn't sound like something from 20 years ago. You know, it doesn't sound like the breakup song, or it doesn't sound like Jeopardy. It sounds new and fresh, but it's definitely identifiable as Greg Kihn. So, you know, I look at the new album and songs like Big Pink Flamingos and Anthem and Cassandra, and I think they represent really where I'm at nowadays. And I guess I have to say I'm pretty proud of the new material.
See, and that's really awesome. Now, so you mentioned MTV, and you guys were the first concept video on there. And MTV, from what it used to be back in the 80s to what it is now with reality TV shows mainly, and I feel like it's not as much about the music. How do you feel about the evolution of MTV from music to the dramatic reality TV shows more that it produces now?
I really think that they should get back to what they had to begin with. It was a unique, and it was a wonderful thing, because I remember it was such a kick to see videos. You know, and in the old days, they didn't have videos. You didn't, you know, you could only you'd see like what your favorite group would be on a variety show or something, but that was it. Nobody was making concept videos. It wasn't until MTV that you would see this stuff, you know, from hour to hour, and it was really an exciting time. You know, but as the years went by, you know, I felt like, you know, you mentioned building a legacy. And that's really, I feel like what I'm doing now is we're building that legacy. You know, I'm going back into the studio, and it feels so liberating and wonderful to be playing and writing new music with my son and Robert. We're really having a great time. And at the same time, I've got, you know, I'm working on my new novel, and that's been a pleasure. And, you know, now that I'm off the radio, and it's been about 2-3 years now that I have not been doing the morning show. And I'm telling you, from getting up every day at 4 a.m., and you know that'll kill you, right? At my age, my God. I remember getting up at 4 a.m. Now I've been going to bed at 4 a.m. And I wake up, I told my wife, don't even mess with me until at least 11 o'clock in the morning. I've got 15, 18 more years of sleeping in before I'm even.
You're kind of returning back to the rock and roll lifestyle of going to bed at 4 a.m.
Yeah, that's where, and you know what? I missed it. I really missed it. Yeah, I didn't miss so much the partying because, you know, back in the day, I won't lie to you. I was, you know, I was as bad as the rest of the guys, and we were out there. We were womanizing. We were drinking. We were snorting. We were smoking. I mean, we were some bad boys. And you know, if there was a party going on, nobody was going to cheat me out of a good time. Plus, you got to admit, you know, when you're in your 20s and you got a hit record and you're on the radio every minute and you're on MTV and you're playing all over the country, it's easy. I mean, people want to party with you. Chicks want to hang out with you. It was a wonderful time. But you know, as I got older and as the years went by, and you know, I settled down and I got more into radio and writing. Now that I go back to that partying, it's not a partying lifestyle anymore. I just love playing live, being out there on the road, writing new songs, going into the studio. It's a pleasure now, and I'm not as crazy as I used to be. You know, here's a quote. I don't know who said this. I've been trying to find out who said it, but it was years ago, back in the 80s, when we put out, I think it was the Rock and Roll album. And one of the reviewers said, the road to rock and roll heaven is paved by the bleached skulls of guys like Greg Kihn. And I really took it to heart. It was paved with the bleached skulls of guys like me. So I just got off of that roller coaster and I started living life, you know, the way I wanted to. And you know what? It really helped. I'm blessed that I have a great life. I have all these wonderful careers that I'm involved with. And all I can do is thank God.
See, and that's amazing. And so would you say that, you know, what kind of started you getting into novel writing and actually, you know, writing books and things like that?
Well, it's interesting because I'd always been a writer, going all the way back to elementary school. I remember writing short stories in elementary school, sci-fi and horror and weird stuff like that. They were terrible stories, obviously, but I wrote them. And then when I got, something happened when I was 13 that changed my life. My mother, God bless her soul, she was very supportive of my career. And when I was 13, I got my first guitar, and I learned my first 3 chords. Hey, by the way, the same 3 chords I'm still playing now today, all these years after that. But my mom, one year I got a little crappy little tape recorder for Christmas. And I started taping songs, writing songs that I had working on, and taping them. And I used to go into my mom's bathroom and closed the shower stall because it was great acoustics. It sounded just like an echo chamber. So anyway, I go in and I amassed a bunch of tapes. There were these little 3-inch reel-to-reel tapes. And unbeknownst to me, my mother sent one of those tapes in to the local top 40 station in Baltimore where I was growing up. It was WCAO. It was a top 40 station in Baltimore. And she sent it in, and I must have been a real bad year for talent because I had won. I won the talent contest. I don't know how that happened, but I won 3 things that affected my life. One of them was I got an electric typewriter. This was back before computers. And that electric typewriter was like, oh, man, it was just a gift from God. And I started banging out stories immediately on that puppy. I also got an electric guitar, a Vox teardrop electric guitar, which I still have, by the way.
Wow.
And I got a stack of records, which I would wind up playing when I was a DJ. So it was unbelievable that, these things happened to me when I was 13, 14 years old. Because really, when I first started, it was just a hobby. I was just stumbling through life. I mean, when I was a kid, I was just we were so sexually repressed when I was 13 that if a girl just even looked at me and said hello, I would break out in pimples. So, for guys like me to meet girls, being a guitar player was the way to go because, we could be shy and we could be a little reticent, but, after a while, I was getting to be a popular guy, and it wasn't because of me, it was because I could play the guitar.
Wow. That is awesome. That's crazy. Like, those 3 things paved, like, the 3 ways, the 3 careers that you have in your life. It's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? My mom's in heaven now, but I'm sure she looks down on me occasionally and has a good laugh because, of all the things that I wound up doing in my life, those were 3 things she knew I was good at.
Really? See, moms always know best, I'm telling you. They always know
Moms
best.
are like that. They really know what's going on. I think she did live to regret it during my partying days. But, once I cleaned my act up and I was working on the radio, I had a real job. I got an actual paycheck, and I worked for a real company. And it was like, oh, gee, maybe he's not so bad after all.
It's always like that with parents, but they still love us no matter what.
Yep. And the beauty of it is, I'm a parent now too, and my son is in my band.
Yep.
That's crazy. And here's another kicker. I have 2 grandchildren now. They're 6 and 4, respectively.
Oh.
And those 2, and I'm already teaching them how to play the guitar, so that maybe in about 10 years, there'll be 3 generations of Kihn in the Greg Kihn band. Wouldn't that be great? That
would be amazing. That would be absolutely awesome. And a lot of classic rock artists, you're seeing that type of thing. Like, in Van Halen, he brought his son in there. You're seeing all kinds of artists are bringing their kids kind of to work with them, I guess, and are kind of creating a legacy that's not just left with themselves.
Yeah. And there's that word legacy again. And as I do all these things now, and I'm working on the new novel, I'm working on new songs, and recording them, and of all the things that I do now, I really feel like I'm building the legacy. Playing live in front of people after all these years is the most fun. The fact that we can go out and play anywhere in the country and get it, in front of 10,000 people, it's a wonderful thing. And it completely rejuvenates me. You know what I mean? When I'm feeling a little down or a little pooped or something like that, go out, walk out on that stage and let that adrenaline rush hit you again. You always feel like, I don't know, I'm not going to reveal my age or anything, but when I step out on that stage, I'm 25 years old again. Yeah. And it happens every time.
That's awesome. And you said that you guys have been, just recording and recording and recording, and you just continue to come up with songs. Would you say that Rekindled is kind of a compilation of the last 20 years where you haven't been making music, and that you continue to kind of...
I would say that, and because there was like an entire year went by when I didn't even write a song, and then there were periods where I was very super creative and writing all the time. So I think that it was the compilation, really. I had really a lot of juice saved up in me. And when we started working on the album, I found it completely liberating. Because here I was in a studio where nobody was looking over my shoulder, so I could, if I wanted to try a demo or try something radical, I could just do it. Nobody said anything. Yeah. Sometimes the magic worked, sometimes it didn't. But the fact that I could try it and do it on the spot was wonderful. And, to have that at this stage of my life is a wonderful thing.
That is awesome. I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me. I was listening to the album yesterday, and I think Brain Police is like my favorite of the album. Oh,
that's great. I like Cassandra. I like Anthem. I certainly like Big Pink Flamingos.
Yeah.
But the Brain Police, that's my original drummer, by the way, Larry Lynch.
Really?
I got to use a couple of guest musicians to come in, and our original drummer, Larry Lynch, going back to 1972 or something, he came in and played guest drums on that, and he was great.
That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. I don't want to take too much more of your time. I hope you end up coming. I'm in Nashville, so I hope you end up coming over to Nashville. John was telling me that you guys don't.
How can we not go to Nashville, for God's sake?
I know! I know, man, I'm telling you.
The last time I was in Nashville, we were playing a little club. God, this was years ago. We were playing with Louise Goffin was the opening act. Carole King's daughter. Wow. And we were playing this little club, and out of the clear blue sky, Gene Simmons from Kiss showed up for the gig, and he was with Roy Orbison.
Wow.
So I got to meet Gene Simmons and Roy Orbison backstage at night, and they said, "Hey, we really like your songs," and they were real supportive, and I was just on cloud nine. Yeah. Roy Orbison, are you kidding me? He's one of my idols.
Wow, that's crazy. See, and that's the beauty of Nashville, is you never know who's going to be there. You really just don't ever know.
Last time I think I ran into the ghost of Hank Williams behind Ryman Auditorium.
See, that's awesome. I love this city, and you need to come play it so I can actually come to your show and bring my parents.
City is unbelievable. Every time I was there about a year ago a book promotion tour, and we were walking up and down that street. I forget the main street there, and every single bar had a band in it.
Yep.
And every single band was great.
Yep.
I said, man, I couldn't live here in this town. It's too intimidating. There's too many great guitar players here.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I love it. Music is always, all times a day, there's always music on Broadway. Doesn't matter if it's 4 a.m. or
that is
12
beautiful.
p.m.
Well, what can I say? You're blessed that you have that opportunity. And what a great city to live in, man. I love it. I just love it. I wish I could come and spend some time with you.
You know what? Come on down. Come on down.
Hey, listen, we get some gigs back in town, and we'll have to get up and get together and have a cold one and just talk about music. I'd love it.
Yes, definitely. If you guys need to make your way out to Nashville, there's plenty of places to play, I'm telling you. We have so much, I swear, so many venues are popping up, and I don't know, it's crazy. We just built Ascend, which is where Foreigner is playing, and it's a pretty good little venue. It's outdoors, and then we've got Ryman and Ascend Amphitheater.
Ascend Amphitheater. I got to tell that to my booking agent, because we're sniffing around for some East Coast dates,
Do it.
We're going to the Midwest next. We were just out in Cincinnati a couple days ago. And then I think we're going to Montana. So I don't know where. I go where they tell me to go. I never worry about it.
Hey, it makes it a nice mystery.
Yeah, that's when you're a musician, all you know is you're going to the next gig. That's all you need to know.
You ask, what state is this, and that's all you need to know.
Yep, that's it.
All
Well,
right.
listen, I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, I really, really
That was
appreciate
an excellent
you.
interview, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate you talking to me. Now I'm going to go rub it in my mom's face.
There you go.
Exactly.
Work it over.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, I really, and tell your mom, thank you. I love you. I love your daughter. I love you.
Oh, thank you. And get a date out in Nashville. That way I can come out and see you guys play.
Yeah, look, when we're coming, I'll send up a flare so you know when we're coming, okay?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Hey, listen, great talking to you. And let's do it again sometime.
Yes, definitely. Let's just tell John to keep me on his radar.
Beautiful.
All right.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye-bye.